Texas, 1930. Starved us off the fields and deafened us with the sawing of insects, the anger and the pungent need. The canyons, the Gulf plains, the coast, the lowlands, the hill country, the basin, the range, what do they ask of us now that the soil offers nothing? Hear the thin, distant whisper of the tribes, the mound builders, Pueblo, Apache, Hassene, Comanche, the high singing of the Spaniards, the Mexicans, bleached bones along the Rio Grande, the dust of Sam Houston, the skull of Zachary Taylor, the fallen at the sieges, the dead and dying all across the plains. Wander the land at night and hear the screech owl lament, crying our history, our sad empty fields, how they speak this American shame, this endless churning landscape of our fathers who have lost most all they hold dear. Come to the cities in your wagons, on foot with your mules, your women, your mangy puling children. Cobble whatever shelter you may, tell the old tales, mouth the history, taste the dust upon your tongue. Take flight from one border to another, just keep on in the thermal lift and yearn. There are markers of the rivers east and west, Pecos, Rio Grande, Brazos, Colorado, red, and still we thirst. And the black oil gushing out and out of the spindle tops, and the strangers who come to town, electric chairs in the back rooms, and men who throw the switch, and the prison farms with lean and beaten men running before the riders with their guns. The miles covered in cars going nowhere but away from here, then turning back and back again to the same old gutted roads with faces that stare at you like death is joyriding in the back seat. And all the blacks all picked up and went somewhere else when the storm blew in. There was nothing left behind but the weevil and our gaunt faces peeping out at nothing. Now the women's work is over. They lie on pallets. The lack is another part of breathing, and the taste of charity in their mouths, and their breasts hanging like pockets of despair. And who remembers now the hurricanes in Indianola and Galveston, again in Galveston, and the many thousands who died there, clutching the Bible to their acquiescent hearts? We walk the streets, line the curbs, forage in the news, lean bewildered against brick-warm walls, outrage pooling in our eyes. When will it come? Justice and respect. When? Into the long white ribbon of road, the future careens away. Cumie Barrow. I had one steadfast wish, avoid the idle day. The devil plays upon a fallow soul. Also, be a helpmeet to my man, raise the children up right. Pray. Choose to live within the dust bowl, sleep beneath the wagon, haul cotton with ribboned hands. Not hard to sweep an earthen floor unless you press your will against the wind, grains speckling your eyes. Taught to read, but only in the Bible. I grew to read the gutters about my children, saw pictures there of widows they made who wore their bridal clothes to funerals. It is no lie there was drinking. There is only so much room for endless grief. Few regrets. I'd look forward to the picnics, red beans and rice, fried chicken in the hand, shrill cicadas in evening light. Listen, why is my youngest out on the road past midnight? Patience wears thin as skin, gunfire all over this land. A human husk I was, yet fierce till the expected came. Forgiveness if I did not bend. Purchased one grave for 2 loved sons. Clyde at Busters Party. Clarence brought me, and I was looking round when she walked in. The air itself just turned to something new. Blonde hair flying, firecracker eyes exploring everything. And when she seen me, her face, it just blossomed with clear intentions. I couldn't let the chance pass. Stretched out my hand, stood close, brought her next the window so I could show her which was my fancy ride. Talk going on around us, her blue eyes steady, hair full of light streaming in from the porch. After I kissed her, she gave a little smile and crushed near flat agin me when I held her. She no taller than a pony. Thought I could have picked her up and run. Heard you had a husband in the joint. She said it weren't real. She was quick as a hiccup, bored in school. What to do in a hole like Cement City when you're hurting for more and nothing ever happens. Never saw another want the same so fierce. To drive and be alive the way we could if we had chances and the world ran right. Cumie Barrow. Ever see a horse run? Teeth just grinding air, shine coming off it like a blazing afternoon. I'd like to get me one. First day I went to school, I fainted straight down on the ground. Never took to reading, never cared for that. What good would have reading been to me? To read my boys' dark history? Blood on their heads and hands, and all the weeping in the world fell down around my head and in my house. Only time we found some happiness, we'd just been wed, and then we had but 5 good years. Never got no horse, but went to church and done the proper thing, married Cumie. She just 16 and under 5 foot tall. She was a rock to me all her days. Started with a rented field and babies. We had 7. All lived to tell of hunger, constant moving, no time left to dream. Jesus watched us every day. They called me quiet, true. I labored till I dropped. Cumie made the children go to church and school. She made those young'uns mind. My daddy never hit me the way her daddy done. A whippin' sets them straight, I reckon. Glad it never fell to me. I was too busy on the journey to provide. We never had no time to play or watch them grow. No room for grace, nor kindliness, nor hope. They grew up, lit out for town. I worked until my hands were bloody. I tilled the soil till cotton root rot come and weevils ate the rotted crop right off. We moved to Dallas to the bog, started there again. I was a scrap dealer, a station owner, sometimes sold hooch. Drank some too some days. Through illness and the dusty storms, my children did provide for me. The boys would drive their flashy cars and dress real well. They told me all would turn out fine. They'd buy good land, pasture with some shade, the things I'd yearned for in this life. I did not shed a tear to see them in the ground. Sat still with Cumie while she mourned. My head held low, as fits a man without one stroke of luck. Clyde at Busters Party. Clarence brought me, and I was looking round when she walked in. The air itself just turned to something new. Blonde hair flying, firecracker eyes exploring everything. And when she seen me, her face, it just blossomed with clear intentions. I couldn't let the chance pass. Stretched out my hand, stood close, brought her next the window so I could show her which was my fancy ride. Talk going on around us. Her blue eyes steady, hair full of light streaming in from the porch. After I kissed her, she gave a little smile and crushed near flat agin me when I held her. She no taller than a pony. Thought I could have picked her up and run. Heard she had a husband in the joint. She said it weren't real. She was quick as a hiccup, bored in school. What to do in a hole like Cement City when you're hurting for more and nothing ever happens. Never saw another want the same so fierce. to drive and be alive the way we could if we had chances and the world ran right. Proud flesh. It was not bullets flying round the risks we took that carved my deepest scar. It was the driving. One mad night when Clyde flipped off the road and all was sudden mayhem, overturned disaster, knee to ankle burned into a flesh-made trench. I do not now recall much of those early hours. To wake and feel myself pried from the car onto the legs of strangers, then into dark again, and driving through the night, some woods-deep hidden room, lifted into bed, from there to toilet when I needed it, me screaming, drinking brew. They poured all that they had into my care and brought my sister there for aid and comfort. Sobbed tears, prayed hard, pain greater than I could ever reckon. I don't recall much till my leg drew up beneath me, and the evenings, mornings, afternoons, all one long hurt and drink, like armor on the outside of an open wound, raised up and thick, a binding that held us fast. It was one thing Clyde did wrong, that wretched Russian night and crash there at the bridge. But when alone, our wounds displayed one to the other. It was a pledge of all we were, which would not break nor bend. Blanche remembers the long ride. I used to believe in love the way believers play their faith close to the chest, fanning it out when they need it most. I could have used some back there when my mother sold me for a song. A hard-handed man, he broke me surely. No more hopes for children, or a tender word at best. My daddy was a kind man, but so poor he could not cope with anything but slow tilling of the dry soil, sun up, sun down, wind that brought the farm indoors. The only thing saved him was his death-like sleep, yet dreams go on. Never expected to find what love was really like, how it pulled me to buck like a chigger to the hairline, his warm brown eyes, his hands that mastered anything he put his mind to. We had such plans for living, he and I. In some woodland, bright, safe place, far away from all we'd known before, we would be fine and free. We said so, all the nights in tourist camps, lying awake, listening to passing cars. Then the storm of bullets and blood that burst in streams on the floor, out of the dead upon their backs. Who could ever have reckoned how bad it would become? The nights I'd sit up on the car and watch the stars, taste of terror in my throat and gore on my thin hands. Some nights I couldn't see the moon for all the horror in the way. Or maybe it was hunger, or the endless sleepless days when all we had was fame, not the kind I ever wanted, outlaw woman. They didn't even know my real name. I would have gone most anywhere with Buck, but they would not let me be there at the end, both of us broken, no use anymore. When we first met on that road in sad West Dallas, he was the most beautiful man I'd ever seen, and he loved me so. Even my daddy liked him. He was good all the way down to the bone. Went to serve out his whole term because I asked. I wish he'd stayed there now, or maybe gone to school, or left his kin behind. It was all on goddamn Clyde what happened. We were doomed. I knew it from the start. There was so much to hope for in those dusty, early days. His arms around me, all the future still to come. I love the car, because within its scope there is both gratitude and anguish. It has saved my life and stolen my ability to run. It has let us ride together, knee to knee and thighs pressed close beneath the pig blood dash, world flying by, and we could let it go. Because deep within the soft back seat, the revolver smiles and winks, ammunition calls out to be housed, rifles lurk. Forget about the typewriter, all its keys and promise. There is no end to work that can be done. Because we rolled along with 8 after the Eastham break, and we were soaring then. The car could have run on nerves and fear alone, 4 thin tires bouncing on the rutted earth. Yet freedom is what we knew that day, all Clyde had promised, and he never broke his word. Because it took us on a holiday or two, cruised us past some likely marks, left every other damn car choking in its dust, offered up a welcome bed where drunk or sober bones could rest, a carpet floor both merciful and thirsty, a space where we felt safe enough to sleep. It made us look like winners in this life.